What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and in 2013 we saw Alcatraz as Mob of the Dead, and then 5 years later we got Alcatraz as Blood of the Dead for Black Ops 4. Then in 2019 we got the entirety of Alcatraz Island as a Blackout map, and then just 2 months ago we got Alcatraz Island reskinned as Rebirth Island for Warzone. But what if I told you that we might actually see Alcatraz one more time within Black Ops Cold War? In tonight's video we have quite a bit to get through, from Warzone anti-cheat, the return of Alcatraz somehow, and even a possible teaser for Grief from Treyarch themselves. Definitely stay tuned. But before I jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and also be sure to use code DYNAMITE if you want to save 10% on any Control Freak orders. Their link is, of course, down below in the description. Tonight's video is a pretty solid follow-up to one that I made this past Saturday, where we talked about a new mode and expansion coming to Black Ops Cold War, currently known as Outbreak. I will have that video linked down below if you want more information on the mode. But before we jump into Outbreak, let's talk about Warzone anti-cheat, because earlier today, Activision came out and surprised us with a pretty interesting announcement regarding 60,000 players getting banned across all of Warzone. Now, it's only a fraction of the amount of hackers there currently are in Warzone, but it is a good start. However, they went ahead and confirmed that yes, there is anti-cheat in Warzone. It was their first acknowledgement of anti-cheat, but they said improvements to the anti-cheat will be coming over the next few months. Now, the announcement wasn't phenomenal. I mean, it's a good step in the right direction, but people need to understand that obviously Warzone had an anti-cheat. It just didn't have the correct anti-cheat that Warzone desperately needs. Every Call of Duty pretty much has the same form of anti-cheat, and what I've been told as of recently is that Warzone essentially had a copy-pasted version of anti-cheat from Black Ops 4, but we all know that Warzone desperately needs a much more advanced version of anti-cheat that can accommodate for the various exploits, bugs, and hacks that exist for this free-to-play battle royale. Now, like I said many times in the past, right, I'm not sure why a better version of anti-cheat isn't in Warzone as of now, especially considering how popular the mode is, the fact that there are $100,000 tournaments going on for the mode itself, big content creators are threatening to quit playing the mode because of the problem. I'm not sure what is taking so long, but maybe COVID is a legitimate excuse for this, right? Maybe they need manpower at the studios working on a good anti-cheat, and this isn't possible right now. Who knows what the excuse is? I understand everybody's frustration saying that they're a AAA studio, there's no excuse for it. I get all your frustrations, trust me. I definitely have seen plenty of hacked gameplay in my experience playing Verdansk, but that's why I've been playing Rebirth a lot lately. I haven't seen much hacking, if not at all, in Rebirth Island. Maybe I'm just lucky, but let me know in the comments if you've seen any hackers across the new Warzone map. Maybe it's just a Verdansk thing, maybe nobody's interested in playing Rebirth for whatever reason. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but you guys probably saw the announcement from Vicstar that he has an open line of communication with Activision, and he has discussed the anti-cheat. Then a day later, we get the announcement that 60,000 people got banned. I mean, I guess that could be a coincidence, maybe it's not, but I just think it is unfortunate that it takes a multi-millionaire or even a big content creator overall to get the message across that change needs to happen. I mean, I would think the vocal majority is enough to confirm that yeah, an anti-cheat is desperately needed, and there is clear as day footage of people streaming while hacking and just getting away with it for months, and quite frankly that's unacceptable. One thing I will say though is I'm very confused as to why players on consoles have been getting banned. I've seen hundreds of DMs and tweets all over the place that people don't even play PC, who can't actually hack, are getting banned in Warzone. Some mistakes may be happening, but yeah, it is possible people on console are paying for services to get free camos or free unlocks, nuclears. Maybe that's how they're getting banned. But yeah, there is a bit of an inconsistency with how people are getting banned all across the board. So maybe somebody had an Activision account linked to a PC and a PlayStation or an Xbox, and then yeah, they were hacking on PC, therefore their whole account was banned, which even affects their console. Maybe that's what's going on. But leave all your thoughts on this down below in the comments. So when it comes to a follow-up regarding the Outbreak mode, like I said in my previous video, which I recommend watching if you haven't already, we are going to be seeing Zombies Fireteams at some point to some capacity in the future, and we have a secret Kravchenko cipher which directly confirms them. Now, it's unclear if Zombies Fireteams will be an LTM to Fireteam Dirty Bomb, or will Zombies Fireteam be its own thing. I think it's probably connected to the Outbreak mode that I heard about many months ago, which I heard recently is still going to happen, and apparently Treyarch is very proud of what they've done with this Zombies Outbreak mode. I mean, the word Outbreak screams zombies, and if they're doing an expansion for Zombies Fireteams, I think Outbreak is probably the mode that they're working on, and apparently Outbreak makes up for a lack of actual zombies maps in Black Ops Cold War, so that's how you know Treyarch is confident in this mode. But in the recent Firebase gameplay trailer from a couple of days ago, we were able to see identified Outbreak outbreak zones for a couple of seconds in the trailer. Now, it was a bit blurry, so we couldn't make out exactly how many red markers there were on these maps, but we were able to see at least 2 of them, one in California and one in Germany. The one in Germany could be referencing the Berlin Zombies map that we all expect to see at some point in the future, but the one in California was a mystery. Now, one thing I was scratching my head about was whether or not this map for identified outbreak zones was referencing future Zombies maps, future Onslaught maps, or this Outbreak mode that we know is going to happen in the future. I'm like, what is it referencing here? What are these locations on the map? But earlier today, within the new Firebase Z gameplay trailer that we got from the behind the scenes look, we actually got a much clearer look at a lot of red markers on both of these maps, which gets me thinking this probably isn't referencing future Zombies maps at all. I mean, there's way too many markers here, so maybe this is actually referencing either Onslaught or the Outbreak mode. Now, one thing about Onslaught though is that we know in the Onslaught mode you always play as Requiem, so we're in an Omega facility here for Firebase Z. Why would this be referencing the Onslaught mode unless some type of turn of events happens in the future of Onslaught where we start playing as Omega instead? Certainly a possibility, so now I'm like, alright, it's probably for Outbreak. But the question is, why are there so many markers? Maybe some of these markers are Zombies maps and some of them aren't. One thing that completely slipped my mind when making that Outbreak video is the significance of the red California marker. I made the video talking about it, I mentioned California, but I didn't even think about what's actually in California. And what do you know? It's San Francisco. And what's in San Francisco? Alcatraz. So I'm like, wait a second, is this really teasing another Mob of the Dead remake? No way. But one thing I want to tell you guys is that they could really pull a reverse Uno card on us, and the way they do that is by taking Rebirth Island that's currently in Warzone, reskinning it as Alcatraz, porting that into Black Ops Cold War as a Fireteam map, and then maybe breaking that down to make a 6v6 Alcatraz multiplayer map, and then what do you get from there? You get Onslaught on that Alcatraz multiplayer map. Maybe that's how we get a Dark Ether Anomaly over in San Francisco. That could be what they do. But one thing I want to remind you guys about is the fact that Rebirth Island in Warzone right now is not Alcatraz. It's not in San Francisco. It's actually in Asia. We know from Black Ops 1 that Rebirth Island is in Central Asia, right? So I know it's confusing, right? The exact layout of Alcatraz Island is somehow Rebirth Island now in Warzone. That was of course done to just save time, reuse assets. You guys understand that. But one thing I also want to remind you guys about is before the reveal, I think, of Black Ops Cold War, we got confirmation of 2 different things from 2 different insiders. First of all, from Tom Henderson, we got the following quote. Just to be clear, I'm not a big Zombies guy. I don't know the story arcs, but I was told Alcatraz will return. He also didn't know what form Alcatraz would be returning in. Now, maybe he had heard that Alcatraz Island was coming back, and then, yeah, we got it back as Rebirth within Warzone. But then another insider, Jeff Grubb, also heard that Blackout was going to come back during Black Ops Cold War. So my take from that was that, alright, we did get Blackout back technically in Warzone, right? We got Blackout's Alcatraz map reskinned as Rebirth Island for Warzone. Maybe that's what that was, but it makes me think, right? If Tom Henderson was talking about Alcatraz zombies, because that's what his tweets really infer, that's definitely separate from what Jeff Grubb was saying about Blackout Battle Royale coming back in Black Ops Cold War. We already saw that. We got Blackout Alcatraz reskinned as Rebirth in Warzone. That's done. Tom's talking about Alcatraz zombies, which we still haven't seen yet, but if Firebase Z is teasing Alcatraz still, then Alcatraz isn't cut content. That's definitely going to happen at some point in the future. So maybe Alcatraz is tied into the Outbreak mode. Maybe the Outbreak mode features many maps. Alcatraz is one of them. Who knows? But if Treyarch is really confident in Outbreak, clearly it's replayable. So what I'll say about Outbreak is that it has potential to be just massive, a bigger version of Grief that we never thought we would see. Imagine dropping into these bigger maps with several teams, facing off PvP style, and then you also have zombies to deal with on the side, and you have to close off or destroy Dark Ether portals instead of detonating dirty bombs like we do in Fireteam. That's going to be a crazy mode. We'll talk more about Grief later on in this video, but with the clarity that we got of the identified Outbreak zones, there are some other locations worth mentioning. One of them is Washington, D.C. Now, what's in Washington? The Hanford site. Where's the Hanford site? Tranzit. So maybe that's a hint at that, but again, let's not, stretch this too far now. Maybe these are just locations of future Onslaught maps, not actual Zombies maps or anything special. Let's see. We also got one in Florida. I mean, what's in Florida? The Mar-a-Lago? I don't know where that could be hinting at, but there are lots of other markers all over the globe, so we could be going all over the place in this Dark Ether storyline, which is very exciting. But one thing I'll say, like I said earlier, is that when we actually download Firebase and we play it for ourselves, ourselves, let's take a very close look at every single one of these markers and also listen into the intel and radios. That can give us a huge hint as to what this map actually means for the future of the storyline. We also got a very interesting glimpse of New York, so I'm not sure what could be there. I mean, somebody was theorizing that we could see a Die Rise remake, but of a New York building instead. So imagine seeing a New York building with a Dark Ether anomaly, but it's laid out like Die Rise. Could that be how they bring the map back? I mean, sure, right? We could see a new version of Tranzit in Hanford. We already have a marker in Washington. We could see a Die Rise skyscraper-like layout in New York, okay, and then maybe somehow Buried fits in somewhere in Angola, Africa. Keep your fingers crossed, but don't set your expectations too high to the point where you're disappointed every single time a DLC map comes out. We saw that one too many times with Black Ops 3, with Black Ops 4. Everybody's tired of that. But one thing I will address is that Craig Houston himself earlier did set the bar pretty high in that behind the scenes video. He said he has never been as excited about a post-launch DLC season like he is with Black Ops Cold War. That's saying a lot, and he also mentioned that we're going to look back at the DLC season of Black Ops Cold War and be like, wow, we didn't see that coming. So that is setting the bar pretty high, which is fantastic. I mean, he's confident about the product they're making. I love to hear that. But what's that going to do? It's going to set off a chain reaction where you have some people in the community setting some real unreasonable expectations of things that are never going to happen, but they expect things to happen. And then what happens, right? Stuff comes out, stuff gets announced, and there's disappointment all across Twitter, all across Reddit. People have to realize what Zombies is. It's not this full-fledged mode that gets non-stop support, non-stop spotlight, non-stop budget. It is the third or fourth mode in Black Ops Cold War. Warzone is, of course, getting more attention for obvious reasons. You don't have to agree with that, but you have to understand what Zombies really is about. It may have been something different back during Black Ops 3, but that's not what it is right now in Black Ops Cold War. But at the very least, they're trying, and I'm really happy about that. So when it comes to grief now, we have a little teaser from Treyarch earlier, which could be hinting at grief. Like I said, keyword could. They have a tweet that says only one can win, with propaganda of Omega and Requiem. So when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, it's very clearly a reference to the fact that Omega and Requiem are still going at it in Firebase Z. We already knew that. People out there were saying, what if it's grief though? So like I said earlier in the video, classic grief could still return in Black Ops Cold War Zombies, but I think a bigger scaled version of grief could be the Outbreak Zombies Fireteam, which I'm really damn excited about. Either one could happen at any given time, but if I had to take a guess, I would say Season 2 might end up being focused on the next big Warzone map, the map that replaces Verdansk. The nuke event is still going to happen, and we'll talk about that in a future video. There's a lot to talk about with that, but the next big Warzone map on the same scale as Verdansk will combine all the Fireteam experiences and add some new areas on top of that. That could be the sole focus of Season 2, while Season 3 could go into other modes with zombies, other modes for multiplayer. Lots could happen with that, but let's just wait and see. That is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave all your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on Warzone anti-cheat, the return of Alcatraz, and a potential return of grief as well at some point in the future? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everyone.
Did you get your challenge though? I keep forgetting if you did.